The Sit Bardo symbolizes the final phase of movement in the bardos, ending with the significant decision of choosing a new existence. During this stage, the soul, severed from all forms of identity in the Chai Bardo and the projections of the Chid Bardo, is faced with a life-defining moment, what they would like to do in their next life. This decision is deeply visceral, not rationally thought out, and is influenced by the energy of karma, actions, thoughts, and intentions from all past existences. These karmic preconditions serve as emotional magnets, drawing the soul towards aspects of its reality which are the juxtaposition of its emotions, fears, and unresolved desires. At the Sit Bardo level, the yearning for rebirth becomes even stronger. It is this yearning along with the attachments and the failure to completely detach from illusions that drive the soul to seek another form. Tibetan Buddhism states that this phase is a journey, but not arbitrary. It is influenced by the emotion and the psychic imprints the soul holds. Fear may sometimes throw the soul into trying circumstances, whereas unfulfilled desires may tether it to lives of such patterns. The process portrays the universal law of cause and effect, where every soul is bombarded with experiences in relation to its inner nature. The Sit Bardo stage is marked by vivid symbolic visions of the initiation of life, to which the soul moves in the course of rebirth. Among these images are often couples, which serve as metaphors of the unions of creation that give birth to new physical forms. The soul's vascular condition and psychic state serve as guides that lead it towards specific visions. It does not end there. The visions determine the particular rebirth which the soul will receive. These visions are not just a figment of the imagination, they reflect the energies of buried deep inside the soul. If the soul sees visions but is captivated by fear of merging with attachments, it may be directed toward a physical form that is unfavorable and makes one suffer continuously. The Bardo Thodol, however, does help practitioners to transcend these patterns. It suggests that one remains detached while clear, even when in the pull of powerful rebirth. By understanding how visions are representations of the mind and volatile in nature, the soul is able to avoid using the instinctive drive to reincarnate the way an individual under karmic influence would. For practitioners trained in life to distance themselves from desires and illusions, this phase becomes a last chance to be free, not having to be reborn. The Sit Bardo expresses the idea that reincarnation is not something that has to happen, but rather a choice largely dependent on how an individual feels and their spiritual readiness. As the soul is overwhelmed with the desire to take on a new form, it undergoes what is termed a psychic storm, a storm of feelings and urges. This storm is the soul's own mind attempting to thrust out its inner condition into the outside world and take on the form of the combined karmic debts and lessons left to be settled. The selection of a new body is primarily automatic and instinctive. It often happens without deliberate conscious thought, as it reflects the core karmic patterns of one's soul. Most beings, however, cycle through the process of samsara, a state of living which involves both suffering and progress. Sit Bardo is, however, a stage where one can completely break free from the cycle of rebirth for those who are able to maintain detachment. This stage permits individuals to join the essence of the mind, or rather, the ultimate truth. This, however, dictates the preparation one must undergo at the beginning of their life. As one can break free from desire through meditation, the individual's jhana without primary attention or awareness can develop the necessary clarity required to traverse to the bardos. Through the teachings of the Bardo Thodol, it is emphasized that even when on the verge of reincarnation, one can still attain freedom. By emptying oneself from desires and visions, one can become detached from the illusion of a concrete identity and enter a state that allows one to escape the never-ending loop of death and birth. During the last stage of the Sit Bardo, the soul is faced with a reflection of itself, including all of its actions, thoughts, and desires. This moment is the culmination of all the earlier stages where each choice made influences the course of the next life. The imagistic components which arise in consciousness are mere surface representations of deeper inner needs and fears. For instance, attachments to certain material possessions or unrealized wishes could nudge the soul towards a rebirth where those attachments prevail. It is imperative to comprehend these forces do not emanate from outside, but are within and shaped of the soul's karma. Bardo teachings point out that the death followed by rebirth is not an arbitrary phenomena. Rather, it is part of a single process controlled by the energies and habits of the mind. While within a certain state of psychic turbulence, the soul is anchored to some images which captivate the current state of being. That choice is often unintentional, pointing towards the necessity of attaining spiritual norms during life to aid in preparing for this event. For someone who is able to confront the Sit Bardos images, there lies a possibility of transcending the cycles of rebirth. The visions that unfold at this time allow for the complete liberation from material existence, as they offer not only the choice of a body but also many other opportunities. A soul which is aware and understands the nature of these images as illusory is able to remain in a state of clarity and avoid unconscious binding to new birth. Most beings often find themselves in a challenging scenario. According to the Bardo Thodol, the most profound of fears combined with deep-rooted attachments serve as the greatest obstacles on the way to freedom. These attachments, be it to peaceful visions or to rageful ones, take the soul captive and bind it to the cycle of samsara. When the illusion of identity and form is escaped from, the soul is then able to recognize and accept the possibility of being devoid of all phenomena, thus cultivating detachment. In this final phase, the Sit Bardo assumes the core guiding principle of Tibetan Buddhism, which states that rebirth is not an automatic process, but rather a result of one's frame of mind and level of spiritual readiness. The psychic storm that occurs in this phase is an inner conflict of extremes, as the instinctive nature of the soul begins to pull it towards a new life. The karmic imprints, or tendencies, serve as a marker that guides a person's particular imprinted frame of reference as to what the next life poses and what it is likely to learn or face. Imprinted frame of reference as to what the next life poses and what it is likely to learn or face. The overwhelming pull of rebirth is irresistible for most souls. Nevertheless, the Bardo Thodol teaches how to not achieve this end. Sit Bardo can be traversed successfully by pre-programming the mind with detachment and awareness while alive. Priming the soul removes the karmic imprints and merges one into the clear light, which is the state of positivity. It is important to be spiritually prepared during one's life. The ability to detach and let go can be enhanced through practices like meditation, mindfulness, and deeper reflection on the nature of impermanence. With such practices, the approach towards death can be that of a transition rather than a source of fear. Those who are able to stay awake throughout the Sit Bardo achieve enlightenment and are liberated from the cycles of birth and death. In the Sit Bardo, selecting a new life demonstrates how karma intricately weaves together everything that exists. Past thoughts, actions, and intentions from previous incarnations form a magnet that draws in a soul in the shape of unresolved tendencies. This captivating mix of cause and effect is not a matter of punishment, but an invitation to evolve, watching towards a soul learning to rise above the struggles they have built. To those unaware of their dependencies, these karmic drives of action can prove to be irresistible, functioning akin to a magnet, pulling them into an existence brimming with identical conflicts and feelings. aka Bardo Thodol, provides a powerful reminder. And the important one, deliverance is always an answer. The soul, even at this point of existence, is capable of comprehending these forces as illusory tendencies of the brain and therefore freeing themselves from their hold. The Sit Bardo is typically characterized as a psychic storm, a tapestry of gyres of tempestuous feeling, energy, and sight. Such incredible forces are a manifestation of the soul's inner condition, an internal reality that is magnified and projected outward. For the most part, these intuitive responses are too strong to be ignored. For example, they may take the form of the soul's karmic tendencies. For instance, visions of union between beings may signify the desire of the soul to seek fresh new life, whereas other images may counterbalance with fear and desire. At this point, one's ability to stay emotionally steady becomes very important. The Bardo Thodol counsels the soul to concentrate on the clear light, which is described as the essence of consciousness. By identifying this light to be its true nature, the soul is capable of rising above the storm and escaping the urge to be born again. It demands very deep spiritual training or strong detachment from illusions and clarity in the midst of chaos. The final realization of Sit Bardo is whether to get a new body or break the cycle of samsara, aka the bodily existence. For an inadequately trained soul, acquiring a new body is very hard to resist. The emotional and karmic imprints defining the presently existing state act like a mirror and counter back lessons that remain unlearned. This way, a psyche that is yet to learn can be born in environments matching its unmet prerequisites, thereby fueling the cycle of existence. Conversely, individuals who have achieved non-attachment have consciousness. This stage affords them the opportunity for freedom. Withdrawing one's identity and realizing the nature of visions and all forms to be empty allows the soul to blend into the clear light. This understanding is the final form of enlightenment because at this level the soul does not have to undergo any birth cycle and instead lies in deep tranquility. The moment starts long before the actual moment, and in this case it begins in life. Preparation for this moment commences a long time before its actual occurrence, and in this case it starts during the lifetime of an individual. Though remembrance of death, introspection, and meditation practitioners enhance the ability to let go of attachments. This shifts not just the approach towards death, but transforms their lives, helping them understand existence more profoundly. Bardo Thodol teachings emphasize that navigating through the Bardos is not only about dying but rather mastering life. The Sit Bardo exemplifies the selection of a new life due to an overwhelming influence of karma. Past and self-inflicted actions form an unseen force which serves as a mentally challenging and invisible magnet. This force pulls the soul toward conditions and experiences that project unresolved sentimental patterns and tendencies. This dynamic does not qualify as punishment but allows self-transformation, providing means to face and surpass the karmic cycles which govern existence. For many people, these karmic pulls make their capture into the cycle of life and death nearly unavoidable. At the same time, the Bardo Thodol makes clear that even in these transformative moments, there is still a possibility of attaining freedom. With the awareness of one's mind's projections and the understanding of their falseness, the soul has the ability to release itself from the bindings, surpassing the karmic limitations that would have otherwise governed its journey. The Sit Bardo is a stage that is characterized to be extremely chaotic and turbulent, something akin to a storm on the psyche. In doing so, the soul is subjected to intense images and strong feelings that are made worse because the soul does not have any physical boundaries. These experiences might sound overwhelming, but they are an expression of the soul's emotions. The images could represent unresolved lessons of karma or unfulfilled wishes and emotions that have stored over ages. At this point, it is crucial to retain some distance from the self. The Bardo Thodol offers reliable advice. Pay attention to the light, which is the pure consciousness. It is this light which the soul's genuine self is in the core area of all confusion and fear. The light holders are those who are capable of keeping an intense focus, can sail through the wrath of the storm without getting sucked into the illusions and primal urges seeking rebirth. The apex difficulty of the Sit Bardo lies in the choice of either transcendence or reincarnation. For the unprepared soul, the draw towards a new form of existence is next to impossible to resist. This pull is not a conscious choice, but an automatic reaction based on karmic imprints. The pull of the unresolved lessons of the soul dictates a rebirth that is heavily influenced by the past experiences and emotions of the soul. People who are spiritually prepared, on the other hand, will find this moment as a chance towards liberation. By recognizing the unworthy nature of the illusions and their phenomena, attaching will within them can be dropped, and the individual can merge into the clear light. This dissolution leads to enlightenment in which rebirth is non-essential, and the soul relinquishes itself towards boundless pristine and serenity. One begins preparation for the decision minus the profound experience during their lifetime. Regular self-auditing in the form of mindful practices, meditation, and self-reflection on the transitory nature of existence aid in enhancing the system's ability to shed attachments and illusions. Such measures not only ready them for the Bardos, but alters one's approach towards life on a broader scale, and filters greater purpose and consciousness into one's actions. The Bardo Thodol teachings remind us that life and death are fundamentally interconnected. Understanding one facilitates mastering the other, disclosing that the earnest essence of liberation is to love and bask in the clarity as well as light of our true essence. The Sit Bardo exemplifies the great paradox of life, the tendency of samsara, the cycle of suffering and rebirth, in addition to the ideal state of nirvana, or the state of liberation. This stage goes beyond merely framing a new existence. It touches the core of what it means to exist. Most souls are swept by the overpowering forces of fear, attachment, and unfulfilled desires, compelling them towards the next turn of the elusive wheel of existence. It is, however, the Bardo Thodol teachings that help us understand the true essence of liberation, which is reachable even in the most chaotic of times. For those prepared spiritually, the Sit Bardo is an incredibly exceptional chance. By accepting that all emotions, visions, and compulsions are simply a product of the mind, it becomes possible to break free from the shackles of identity and form. This way, the soul is no longer a slave of karma, and the clear light can be accessed while transcending life and death. Having the proficiency to maneuver through the Sit Bardo consciously is not something one can achieve by mere chance. However, it is something that one has to prepare for during their lifetime. The Bardo Thodol brings out the need for spiritual training in order to reach the state of detachment and clarity as well. Such things as meditation, mindfulness, and contemplating the reality are some of the most effective means to build mental fortitude required to face the harsh visions of the Bardos. In these practices, the soul gradually learns how to observe the projection of the mind without getting overly attached to them. For the trained practitioner, when the time comes to confront the psychic storm of the Sit Bardo, the storm can instead be regarded as a hurricane. While the essence underneath becomes the clear light, one needs to avoid the mystical lure of getting reborn. These preparations enable someone to transform death into a moment which is no longer fearful, but instead of becoming liberating. The teachings of Sit Bardo depicts the moment of death, but also helps provide insights on life itself. The cycle of rebirth is seen as a reflection of the patterns that we live every day of our lives, as it garners the attention from attachments, desires, and fears that mold our reality. By seeking to comprehend such tendencies and actively striving to overcome them serves not only as preparation to face death, but instead teaches not only how to die, but in fact, teaches how to live life far more meaningfully and consciously. The Bardo Thodol highlights the fact that life and death are not disjointed events, but rather phases of a single continuum. Every decision we make now, every bit of insight we nurture, and every bond we sever affects our chances of successfully navigating the Bardos. This approach ensures that the journey of the soul is ever more holistic, comprehensive, and toward the truth, enabling it to ceaselessly progress in understanding and growth. Ultimately, the Cid Bardo teaches that freedom is not something far ahead. It is always accessible at any given moment. The lessons of impermanence, of letting go, and of paying attention enable a new relationship with life, death, and the inevitable process of rebirth. It is not just a matter of overcoming samsara. It is about recognizing the infinite possibilities for the soul and the everlasting solace of the clear light. The Cid Bardo leads to an essential insight. There exists no barrier to liberation save the soul's own mind. The visions, feelings, and attachments that emerge are outcomes of the soul's inner state and are made worse by the Bardo experience. These states are neither rewards nor punishments. They are a chance for understanding and access. Every vision is a paradox, requiring the soul to realize itself and the vacuity of all phenomena. For the unprepared, these experiences may be too much to handle. The pull of the known, the patterns and sanctions, stitches together a new cycle of being. However, those who understand are given the chance to end their samsara by illusion that binds them and becoming one with the clear light, the state of being essence that is pure and unconditionally devoid of any altercation. The Bardo Thodol teachings highlight that liberation is not obtained in a single moment, but is rather the outcome of a lifetime of spiritual work. One's ability to face the Bardos with clarity and detachment can be developed by preparing the mind during life. Practices such as meditation and impermanence reflection help loosen the attachment's grip, allowing the soul to face the Cid Bardo's challenges with calm focus. Those who have cultivated the mindfulness can see the Cid Bardo as an opportunity rather than a trial. The visions cease to be frightening or seductive, allowing the soul to remain centered in the true nature awareness. In this state of clarity, the soul is able to recognize the clear light as his essence and move past the illusions of rebirth. The Cid Bardos teachings suggest that every individual has the capacity to break free from bondage. The Bardos are difficult to navigate, but they are also enlightening. It removes the false narratives and conditioning that have covered the soul and reveals its essence. The soul is not forced externally to either transcend samsara or chooses to be reincarnated, but does so based on its understanding and readiness. In this regard, Cid Bardo is more than a phase of interlude. It is a complex evaluation of the spirit. It challenges the soul to face its greatest fears and deepest attachments, to get beyond the illusions, and to accept the soothing light in the clear chamber. Once achieved, for those who manage to do so, liberation is within reach. Unbound from the endless cycle of life and death, for from them, it is not an idea but a lived concept. The Bardo Thodol suggests that every moment full of awareness, any action of benevolence, and each single step towards enlightenment takes us to our final destination, which is comprised of boundless freedom. Furthermore, they teach us the means to nurture these freedoms are already present in life. In preparing now, we will not only completely transform our interaction with death, but will also help the quality of the life we live, endowing the life we live with more intent, stillness, awareness, purpose, and peace. The Bardo Thodol indicates that the passage through the Bardos is an integrative process which is part of the life we live. Our experiences in these states of transition is deeply embedded with every attachment we foster, the decisions we make individually, and the moments of clear comprehension or bewilderment. Life is where we learn to prepare the mind for extreme visions and the hurdles presented during the death and reincarnation process. Thoughts and emotions can be observed and left untouched, and they become devoid of desires and fears. The samsara that binds us can be broken free through detachment. This discipline of the mind becomes a necessity during Bardos, as it is during this time that projection of thoughts is heightened. The ability to remain detached and calm through the heightened projections determines whether we are able to transcend the cycle of reincarnation or become lost in it. Often regarded as an infinite aspect of reality, the clear light signifies the essence of the soul. This light is not external, but within the very fabric of consciousness, free from attachments, duality, and fear. Understanding this light in relation to the Bardos is crucial to attaining freedom. However, it is easier said than done. It takes a lifetime worth of spiritual effort to develop the proper awareness and detachment needed to perceive beyond the illusions created by the mind. While, in its purest form, the clear light can be overwhelming, for many beings, the soul retreating into the comfort of familiar patterns becomes the path of least resistance. The Bardo Thodol offers hope for those souls that do not recognize the clear light, stating that there is still an opportunity found within the subsequent Bardos to achieve liberation. This path is not linear, but rather cyclical, allowing for endless possibilities of realizations and growth. The Bardo Thodol guides one's life from the cradle to the grave and beyond. It offers tools for comprehending both the afterlife and life itself. Life, death, and rebirth are intertwined facets of a single path. Confronting truths of impermanence and void reveals that the cycle of samsara is a product of our own volition and not a fetter forced upon us. To catalyze the metamorphosis and alter the self-imposed shackles, one must first achieve profound self-awareness. These Bardos are more than mere chastisements. They are chances for the soul to refine its essence by getting rid of all preconceptions. The realization of true essence can be exhilarating or dreadful depending on the degree of enlightenment. The Bardo Thodol, at its core, urges one to deal with life and death with wisdom and valor. It paints a reality where dissolving illusions of the mind makes one witness an omnipresent liberation, eternally ready to be embraced. In doing so, we do not only transform the experience of death, but every point and purpose-laden moment in our lives. The teachings of Bardo Thodol illustrate that every individual's journey of self-discovery and liberation is not confined to a certain moment in time. Rather, it unfolds as a continuum. Birth, life, death, and Bardos, karma and experiences all merge to form a holistic system where every facet contributes towards one's spiritual growth. The Bardos, while often confused with the essence of afterlife, stretch their lessons beyond existence. These invite individuals to peel the layers of superficiality off life and see deeper truths that shape our existence. The ordinary mind's patterns of attachment and ignorance that perpetuate samsara are represented by the never-ending cycle of rebirths. There exists an innate possibility in every bardo to recognize these patterns, let go of the shrouding fear and desire, and embrace the nature of boundless clear light. The journey for most remains perpetual, but for a few highly aware individuals, this becomes a route to ultimate freedom. The wisdom of Bardo Thodol must not be kept aside for moments of death only. It should be lived every single day. Every moment of attachment and every fleeting desire gives us a chance to practice calmness and detachment. Every one of us can prepare for the obstacles of the Bardos by appreciating the unending essence of everything in this world. Self-restraint, meditative action, and benevolence are helpful in putting these concepts into practice. When we meditate, we watch and scrutinize the mind, which is the first step towards achieving an ultimate decision when faced with challenging scenarios in the Bardos. Compassion enables the shattering of the self-imposed boundaries we set and helps me get closer to the reality and idea of oneness and nothingness. Even though the core tenets of the Bardo Thodol stem from Tibetan Buddhism, its teachings can be applied to people of different cultures and religions. The explanation given is applicable to every human being, the phenomena of life, death, and everything in between. Primarily, this text serves as a guide to aid in the process of discerning the workings of the mind and its projections, as well as recognizing the ever-present freedom each being has to achieve self-realization. The teachings address life's inevitable Bardos, which can be translated into the difficulties we undergo frequently. The effort towards separating oneself from the illusions, the facing of terrifying obstacles, and the desperate search for purpose. Through critical examination and contemplation of the given teachings, we learn how to orientate ourselves accordingly during the different phases of death and life, seeking order amidst chaos.